Don't do PPF until you see this Ferrari. At first glance, this Ferrari 488 Spider looks exactly like what you'd expect from an Italian supercar. But what you're about to see is a costly mistake hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the side mirror. Look closely. Those aren't scratches. That's the paint protection film itself cracking apart. A product that was supposed to protect the vehicle is now failing before your eyes. Moving on to the roof. The first thing you'll notice is the exposed edges. Poor finishing, poor coverage. And years later, the film has completely faded. A properly installed premium PPF should remain nearly invisible. Instead, this film has become the first thing you notice on the car. Every exposed edge becomes a starting point for contamination, UV damage, and premature failure. And this is exactly where that process began. Now we're at one of the most heat-intensive areas of the vehicle, above the engine compartment. This area experiences extreme temperatures every time the car is driven. Look at the condition of this film. Thousands of cracks spread across the surface, heavy yellowing, complete material breakdown. This isn't normal aging. This is a film that simply wasn't built to survive. The rear section tells the same story. Sun damage, burn marks, brittle film, cracks everywhere. Years of UV exposure have completely destroyed what was once supposed to be protection. Back on the roof, the damage becomes even more obvious. The film has lost its clarity, lost its flexibility, lost its purpose. What should be an invisible protective layer has become the most noticeable defect on the vehicle. As we move back toward the engine cover, the pattern continues. Cracking, discoloration, fading, panel after panel. The same problem, the same failure, the same result. Now look at the area around the tail light. Notice the exposed edge finishing. Notice how the film has lifted and deteriorated around the contours. High-end vehicles require precision installation. Unfortunately, this installation falls far short of that standard. Even around the Ferrari badge, the workmanship tells a story. Uneven cuts, inconsistent finishing. Areas that should have been carefully detailed were simply rushed. And years later, the evidence is impossible to hide. The opposite tail light reveals exactly the same issues. Yellowing, cracking, poor edge work. A quality installation should age consistently and gracefully. This film has done neither. Now take a look at the rear quarter panel. This is one of the most visible sections of the entire vehicle, and it's covered with cracks. Not one or two, thousands. The surface resembles dried paint rather than a protective film. Imagine investing in a Ferrari only to watch the protection become the problem. As we move across the opposite side, the damage continues uninterrupted. Engine cover, quarter panel, B-pillar, roof. Every section tells the same story. A low-quality product installed with poor attention to detail. The failure isn't isolated, it's everywhere. Around the air intake area, another common issue appears. Improper installation around complex curves. This is where installer experience matters most. Unfortunately, this section highlights exactly what happens when shortcuts are taken. Even the mirror on this side has suffered the same fate. Cracks, oxidation, material breakdown. No panel has escaped the damage, and now we return to the roof. Perhaps the most revealing section on the entire car. Yellowing throughout. Extensive cracking. Visible aging from every angle. This is the moment where many owners realize something important. The cheapest quote is rarely the cheapest decision, because eventually someone has to remove all of this, and that's where the real cost begins. This Ferrari didn't fail, the PPF failed, the installation failed, the material failed, and unfortunately the company responsible is no longer answering calls. No support, no solution, no accountability. If you're considering paint protection film for your vehicle, remember this Ferrari